I kind of want to try and get one of these more commentary like style videos done once a week. I think a weekly one could be good, but we'll see.
Yeah, and how is that going for you? Yeah, I thought so.
Cleanse the keeper. Only then can we charge the summoning key.
Following off of the hot heels of Shadows of Evil, Black Ops 3's first DLC would have to live up to arguably one of the greatest yet most decisive entries of COD Zombies, at least for the time. Der Eisendrache, or the Iron Dragon, would release on the 2nd of February 2016. Many maps launch a terrific fanfare, and sometimes this is enough to cement them as all-time classics. But Der Eisendrache is a rare example of a map that managed to all but completely dodge the criticisms that plagued many of this map's predecessors and successors. DE as an experience felt like such a fundamental return to form, while incorporating many features from Black Ops 2's origins that allowed the map to flourish. One of the major points of quality that I would like to discuss today is, at least in my eyes, a subject that ultimately solidified the modern formula for COD Zombies. That being the boss fights. If you don't count Mob of the Dead's PvP battle on the Golden Gate Bridge and whatever the fuck this was supposed to be in Shadows of Evil, DE's main quest delivered what is arguably the very first Treyarch Zombies boss fight. The Giant Keeper, a name dubbed by fans, was a titular keeper that is resurrected within the main quest of the map. However, there is definitely more to this boss fight than meets the eye, and in today's video, I will be discussing some potential hidden lore, as well as some far-fetched theory crafting that'll hopefully leave you with something to consider come the end of this video. So, like and subscribe if you've made it this far, because things are about to get a whole lot more interesting. Nearing the end of the main quest, and upon being teleported to Griffin Station on the moon, the Keeper returned back to Earth corrupted and entrapped within the Moon Pyramid device. It then becomes the job of the playable Primus crew to enter the MPD and purge the Giant Keeper. This is such an interesting setup for what is arguably a very memorable boss fight. Within the fight, the Keeper unleashes multiple forms of defense. Skeletons spawn into the fight as a replacement for zombies. Mounds of magma would erupt across the ground, which would have to be avoided, and later on, players would have to contend with hellhounds as well as Panzersoldats that would fly in through openings in the roof. Considering the context of the fight, yeah, who knows where they actually came from. This boss fight would also introduce the Zombies community to wipe mechanics, which other games like Destiny had already incorporated into their raid bosses. Upon seeing the Keeper charging electricity, a player would have to place, not slam, I can't emphasize that enough, their Ragnarok DG4 specialist into the mass of glowing energy beneath the Keeper. Failure to do this, and subsequently upon failing to hide behind one of the pillars in the arena, players would be downed instantly by the wipe attack. The Keeper also spawns these unkillable skull enemies known in the files as chompers that would damage players upon impact. This relates to my first major point here, as if we also inspect the asset name for the Giant Keeper, we actually come to learn that the name Treyarch picked for this boss fight was the Archon Keeper. Yeah, laugh it up, get it all out of your system, but to be clear, while this is the closest we have to an official name for this boss, the name is never actually confirmed within Black Ops 3. As such, I feel it is necessary to delve further into the history of this phrase. So, let's find out if this was a mere coincidence, or a shadowy warning from years past. Jumping forward to Vanguard Zombies, we learn of the Construct, an omnipotent obelisk that is known to have existed since before the Dimensional Purge in Tag der Toten. seemingly originating from the beginning of the original Ether universe and the creation of the Dark Ether. The construct as an entity is the closest thing we have to a god in COD Zombies, and beyond the events of Vanguard, it is yet to have played a major role within the story. The construct is able to bestow its power upon lesser beings, gifting them the title of Archon and the benefits that come with it. Upon passing its 3 trials of mindfulness, resilience, and sacrifice, Krav Special Forces were able to oppose Cortifex the Deathless, who the construct had chosen to become its next Archon. Upon completing said trials himself, after the events of Vanguard and the Second World War, the construct is yet to make a physical appearance, but we are also aware of some of its prior Archons. The very first Archon would use their power to eradicate a parasitic species that threatened all life within the Dark Ether, and the fourth Archon would fragment a moon within the Dark Ether's solar system, which just goes to show how truly powerful you can become while wielding the power of the Archon. Jumping back to Black Ops 3, we can inspect the tomb of the Giant Keeper. Griffin Castle was built as a monument to humanity's victory during the Great War, with this occurring in Dimension 63 due to Pablo Marinus documenting the conflict of mankind and the Keepers against the Apophicons. The Giant Keeper was put to rest within the Wolf King's castle, which could imply honor and nobility. But the most obvious question to ask is if this Keeper had also successfully petitioned the construct to become an Archon. The size of the Keeper could simply be a byproduct of its presence within the MPD. Could this explain its size and power? And were Treyarch really thinking that far ahead? To expand upon this further, both the construct and Keepers were worshipped and respected as higher beings. The Keepers were described as being angelic figures, particularly when Jebediah Brown received a vision in his sleep from 2 angels, who had instructed him to create several devices.
When I slept, I had a vision. 2 angels came down to me from heaven. They told me I needed to be ready to prepare for what was coming. And what was coming, they would not tell me, but how to prepare. Build a machine, they said. They would guide my hands.
One such creation would be the original Pack-a-Punch machine, or Tag der Turton's Golden Pack-a-Punch. We also know of Nan Supway, a keeper that protected the people of Pompey Island, or Zetsubo no Shima, from a great evil, which was likely the Apophicons or the giant monster that can be viewed lurking around the waters of the island on round 50, which probably was some sort of Apophicon monster. To say that both the construct and keepers parallel each other is definitely an understatement. In the Dark Ether story, the construct is worshipped amongst the different demonic clans of the Dark World below. Knowing of its nature, many sought to petition the construct to obtain the power of the Archon. And who's to say that many of these clans and worshippers weren't akin to our own historical societies? You can argue that the construct's presence in the Dark Ether even influenced our ancient societies, since many of the Dark Ether demons served to influence our own deities, like with Cortifex being Osiris, Nauticus being Ymir, or Invicta being Ares and bonding with Achilles. The presence of the Keepers and construct is absolute, and their influence echoes across time and space itself. Going forward, this is the theory crafting part of the video, and some of the information here is a little less relevant to the rest of the video, so stick with me. I feel like that's become my catchphrase now. Stick with me. Funnily enough though, I did neglect to mention that the term Archon was used officially in Black Ops 3, years before the release of the Archon in Vanguard. The upgraded Specialist Sword, or the Keeper Sword unlocked in Shadows of Evil, is outright named the Archon Sword via in-game text, with this being the official name for the weapon. The colour scheme of the Keepers, this sword, and the construct are all quite similar too, which could possibly imply some level of correlation between the construct and the Keeper Society. Was the construct created by the Keepers and placed within the Dark Ether after the War for Agartha in order to monitor the Apophicons? Did the construct create the Ether itself, and with it the Keepers? Or could this all just be a massive coincidence, given that COD Zombies isn't the neatest when it comes to its writing? The phrase Archon is a pre-existing phrase after all. What about the different Vril or Keeper hybrid societies on Mars, Titan, and Venus? Could the construct have been involved with these and the Crusader Ancients seen in Origins? Or could this just simply relate to the Keepers or the corruption of Element 115 in the Dark Ether? We may never get clear answers to these questions, but the construct as an entity clearly has a ton of untapped history, and theoretically, this could stretch back as far as Der Eisendrache or even further in terms of actual zombies outings. But frankly, only time will tell. In the end, the Archon Keeper defined the formula for boss fights within COD Zombies, with this influence continuing to be observed through the highly beloved fights of Black Ops 6 and 7. We may never truly understand the full context behind the Archon Keeper and its power, but who knows? With Rex Infernus we may get to see the construct again, and maybe, just maybe, Black Ops 7's finale and the future of zombies will ultimately provide us with a greater understanding of this story's rich universe. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Maybe share this video with your friends if you get the chance. I'd really appreciate it. The final Zombies map for the foreseeable future is releasing very soon, so stick around, and maybe drop into my stream on the 20th of August. Depending on how long this quest hunt takes, I plan to marathon stream across most of the weekend to mark the special occasion. So until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.